So today, first thing we're going to do is we're going to go File, Save As, and save this as 2.5. You'll remember last class, we actually took 2.2 and 2.3 and submitted them as project 2.4. So this class, we're going to start with 2.5. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit more. Well, actually, what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about this head element a little bit more. So the head element does not show up on the page. The head element is instructions for the page that allows the page to be rendered properly. Again, the first thing we have is meta char set equals UTF-8, which means that whether this was typed on a Mac or a PC, the code should show up correctly. So we hope. If it doesn't, then we have to make changes. But for the most part, char set UTF-8 is the ideal character set to use for websites, since websites get opened on Macs and PCs. And so that just deals with the issues. The next thing we have is the title. And the title is what shows up in the tab at the top of the website. And you want it to be short, and you want it to be descriptive of what the page is about. Okay. After the title, we're going to add a couple of things. First thing we're going to add is something called a meta tag for the viewport. So meta name equals viewport, VEUWPORT, VIE, right. I just get tricked by that every now and then. So, and then the content equals, quote, width, WIDTH, equals sign, not a dash, device width, comma, that was a period, make sure it's a comma, initial scale equals 1. So content equals, quote, width equals device dash width, comma, space, initial dash scale equals 1. And then we're going to close that. And then I'm going to add a little descriptive. So we can add code in here that will not, that will only show to the reader of the code. It won't show to the viewer of the website. We do that by doing a less than, exclamation mark, 2 dashes. It has to be 2 dashes. And then this sets up a file for mobile use. Okay, So that's just a little descriptive tag that you might want to keep in there so you remember what this is for. This just tells the website to fit to the screen. And it's also kind of important because Google, when it searches for websites, if it doesn't see this, it will tend not to show your site at all, or will rank it really low, because if it doesn't see this, it's going to assume that it's not set up for mobile, and so that's not something it likes. So then we're going to add another meta description. Meta name equals description. I've done it again. Name equals description. Content, in this case, equals who founded the Bauhaus Design School in Germany after World War I. And I've done it again. Command X, D, and was the founders of modernism. Okay. Now, the meta description is very important because when a browser like Google finds a website, it will generally use this meta description as the description of the website that shows up in the browser results. So you would want to make sure everything's spelled correctly. You would want to make sure that it really describes your page properly, and so on. Okay. And so this is the basics for creating a head for your site. And then, of course, we've also got this section where we'll be putting the style. When we go and we add fonts that are not from our computer, that are fonts, web-based fonts, we'll add that information. Later on, when our CSS is more complete, we will actually create a separate CSS file for all of this information that we're going to have in here, and there'll be a link to that. That'll also be in the head. If there was JavaScript that was affecting the page, then we would put that up here. So a lot of things go in the head, specifically because they're not things that are supposed to show up on the page. What we like to do when we're designing a page is we like to have the contents just separate from everything else. Amongst other reasons, it makes it a lot easier when one needs to go in and make a correction to the text. It used to be that the equivalent of the CSS would all be down here on every single line of your code. You'd have your JavaScript all down here, all kinds of stuff that wasn't the code would be down in your main contents, and it would make it really difficult to make corrections, to find things that needed to be corrected and then make the corrections. So we have, the intent is to try to keep as much in the head and as much separate from the actual content of the page as possible.